I can't even believe it's been about 1 week ago since the ending conclusion of 2025, despite the fact that Maxi has already gone on about that with that particular final thoughts ever since in his Let's Play of Dancing Stage Mario Mix for the Nintendo GameCube, but that's besides the point. Greetings, ladies and gentlemen, it is I am the one and only Joy here, and once again I am back for the likes of the Maxi Toys videos. And ladies and gentlemen, welcome back for some more of Let's Play of Super Mario Galaxy plus Super Mario Galaxy 2 Combo Pack for the Nintendo Switch, while we're still playing through Super Mario Galaxy. Originally came out in 2007 for the Nintendo Wii/2020, thanks to the films of the Super Mario 3D All-Stars for the Nintendo Switch. So, last time, we basically did manage to collect some more Power Stars and during the evolves within the Kitchen Dome, by able to actually keep on exploring into not only Beach Ball Galaxy, but in addition to Bubble Breeze Galaxy, and on top of that, Ghostly Galaxy, and also same applies with Boyle Base. And finally, most notably though, is that we also take down Bowser Jr., and we somehow claim ourselves the 4th Grand Star in this game, specifically Mario's playthrough in some cases. So either way, and on top of that, we also did manage to take down 3 of those EO monsters and during the evolves within Drip Drop Galaxy. So yeah, everything else checks out there basically. So today for this video is that before you're able to actually get started with the next dome, which appears to be the bedroom dome, we need to able to take care of the forms of the secret mission first, taking place in the forms within Battle Rock Galaxy, because according to what Luigi did somehow say in the actual letter, we must find him in specifically in a mission Battle Rock Barrage. That's what I was going to be thinking about anyway, although relatively speaking, I do apologize for that particular awkward commentary here and there, but that's mainly because, well, at that point in time, I just felt a bit stuffed today with all the amount of food I keep on eating at this point. Mainly, for instance, though, with all that cucumber I've had, and in addition to that, though, I also did manage to able to eat some more red grapes, especially, because those food, to me, though, are so delicious in my opinion. So, and yeah, no matter what though, hopefully by that time and during the evolves been later on throughout the majority of this video, then I should be able to actually discuss upon more details about what's been going on so far. Well, first things first though, is about the fact that for those of you probably wondering, yes, today's date of course there is the 7th of January today, in some cases in 2026 today, and no matter what though, like I said before, it's been about a whole week ago since the final day of 2025, and no matter what though, it's about the fact, I can't even believe by saying this, is about the fact that we somehow managed able to become, well, a lot more successful during that point, especially noticeable because even then, what makes things a bit interesting that I forgot to tell you about something for you guys out there, and that's what appears to be for the fact that for a New Year's resolution in our channel, we might able to actually give another chance when it comes to able to try to figure out to do these little short videos every once in a while. Because I know for a fact that there are so many YouTube shorts 24/7 at this point in time, which is especially noticeable because if you want to make things a little bit quicker, or anything else to be more specifically, then I thought to myself, yeah, I might as well give those another shot, because we originally did one for the likes of the forms of thanks to Silver the Hedgehog has already come across into himself the actual game crash in the forms of one of those levels that you can able to access to in Sonic X Shadow Generations, specifically the PlayStation 4 version, that he did somehow come across into that particular stuttery frame rate here and there in Journey Falls within the Casino Night stage, and no matter what though, every once in a while, whenever it keeps on stuttering a lot, this will actually cause the game to crash, and as a result, no matter what though, we actually did manage to able to realize the fact that after we somehow come across into that particular issue, while Silver did manage to able to accidentally put that as in a short video, but as a result though, we somehow received a bunch of dislikes, unfortunately. But it knows what it is, I suppose. It's only for likely for its test running. It turns the forms to try something new when it comes to likely trying to make shorts every once in a while, so we figured to ourselves about the fact that now is the right time we can able to actually get onto shorts for reals. So, but I digress. So as you can tell, we are now moving on into the next dome, which takes place in the bedroom dome, and to begin with, let's go ahead and get into Ghostly Garden Galaxy. So as a result, yeah, we already did done the secret mission, by the way, in Battle Rock Galaxy, which appears to be named Luigi under the saucer. But now we're going into the first mission in Ghostly Garden Galaxy, which appears to be Bunnies in the Wind. So, and obviously this particular stage does brings us the most iconic music of all time, which is of course Ghostly Garden Galaxy theme, and straight to the point though, that will continue that tradition for the later Mario games, ranging from, you know what I'm saying, with the forms of Mario and Sonic at the Olympic Winter Games has been remixed, and same applies with London 2012 Olympic Games and so much more, including with the forms of the original orchestrated theme of the Ghostly Garden theme on the likes of in Mario Party Star Rush for Rhythm Radical, I think is what it says anyway. Well, mind you though, it's been a very long time since I actually have last played Mario Party Star Rush for the 3DS, but it's mainly because at this point in time, I'm still basically used to playing not only Mario Party Superstars every once in a while, but on top of that, Super Mario Party Jamboree here and there as well, just in case about the fact that the actual wild factor will comes into play between both, you know, Mario Party Superstars and Super Mario Party Jamboree, although not so much the first Super Mario Party every nowadays, because obviously though, that requiring a singular Joy-Con just feels a bit uncomfortable for long play sessions, and on top of all that stuff though, it's about the fact that unlike Superstars and Jamboree, there's no way you can able to actually turn off the minigame rules explanation off, so... But anyway, and it's also worth knowing for too actually, is about the fact that we recently did manage to able to found out something that's actually quite interesting with the actual results in terms of the forms of the highest grossing films of 2025 so far, and apparently though, no surprise there for the fact that Avatar Fire and Ash is still catching up when it comes to the forms of the box office results, and no matter what though, meanwhile for Zootopia 2 or Zootropolis 2 is still in second place at the moment. Well, usually relatively speaking though, it's about the fact that until the later weeks to come, there'll be no surprise about the fact that it's pretty obvious that Avatar will once again decide able to catch up, for able to try to dominate the box office results during the events within the later weeks to come, or even months potentially, so... But either way, let's just go ahead and try to catch that Star Bunny right there, so we can able to just try to catch him like so. And as a result, it's been quite a while since we actually did manage to catch the Star Bunny ever since in the very beginning of the game, taking place in Gateway Galaxy, so... But I digress. And it's also worth knowing for too is about the fact that I've also did manage to found out about the fact that Avatar, Fire and Ash at the moment right now is almost getting slowly trying to able to beat out a Minecraft movie, including the Lilo and Stitch movie live action remake, and oh, we were one away to able to actually reach to 1,000, well, star bits, but oh well, no big deal. Besides, we can able to actually keep on grinding for some more star bits later down the road, but we'll cross the bridge whenever we get to it. So anyway, the dirty tricks of Major Burrows. So obviously this will obviously takes place in the next boss fight right here. Because obviously though, that Star Bunny is being chased by the Major Burrows right there, so we have no choice but able to try to defeat that particular Major Burrows. So... Oh, and something's worth knowing for too, is that between both Super Mario Galaxy plus Super Mario Galaxy 2 combo pack, you might able to actually realize that the actual star counter on Super Mario Galaxy on this particular version of the game right there is obviously normally spaced with all that particular, like you do realize about the fact that, I don't know if it's just me, but I'm pretty sure enough that we actually on, I would say 45 stars at this point, so no matter what though, at the very least though, is that the number of fonts is actually a little bit of a normal space, whilst it wasn't until whenever we get into Galaxy 2 on the other hand, sometimes though about the fact that the number UI is actually gone close to each other, which is especially noticeable on a star counter, which you'll see what I mean if we dive into Super Mario Galaxy 2 on Nintendo Switch version. So, but then again, though, it's not going to be until specifically until for later on, that is, so just in case about the fact that we can able to actually get everything else organized and during that specific points worth noting for. Oh, and talking of which though, actually, I recently manage to watch some more episodes from The Simpsons, but this time around though, decided able to re-watch certain episodes from Season 2. And in fact, I'm actually onto the halfway point of this particular process there, although I was originally trying to able to actually re-watch the majority of the Treehouse of Horror episodes during that time, but I might able to actually wait on that until specifically Halloween once again. So just in case about the fact that, despite the fact that we've only just got roughly about 9 months away, so that's awfully a long time. So no matter what though, we have to go through not only some more winter days, but on top of that, we can also have to wait for the well, should I say for that matter, that we have to still have to come across into not only spring days, but in addition to summer days, and eventually at some point, some more heat waves coming up soon, specifically at some point in June, July, or August potentially. So, but either way, we shall wait and see what happens during that front. So, anyway, so we have somehow managed able to let the caterpillar manage to go through not 1, but 3 apple planets. So, anyway, so let's just go ahead and try to, you know, ground pound this little stomp right there. And in that way, we should be able to get ourselves the glorious life shroom, so just in case for emergency sake. So, although unlike the Forms of Power does in the Insist mode, that you obviously do able to actually get the life shroom straight away if you manage able to, well, dive into the actual mission itself. Although I should also point things out, actually, is about the fact that someone said in the comments during the Forms of in the first part of this particular version of the playthrough of Super Mario Galaxy 1, by the way, someone actually did say for the fact that there's actually a bonus point in regards to the forms of this particular version of Super Mario Galaxy on the Switch 2025 edition. Someone did actually point out that there's now a new language selecting, which appears to be Dutch, which actually means about the fact that the game now actually signifies for the fact that if you try to set the actual setting into Dutch, meaning that's likely Netherlands language, and obviously though it now adds that language now. So yeah, that's actually pretty swell, especially noticeable that unlike the 3D All-Stars version, for some reason that Dutch language was not even on there. So pretty cool stuff though for this particular version in some cases though. And it's also worth knowing for too actually, is that taking a notice from Super Mario Odyssey Assist mode, that if you do manage able to really want to recover your health back, well, if you try to stand completely still, then obviously though you can able to regenerate health. So that way, if you have some bit of struggles with the forms of difficult boss fights for instance, then obviously though you can able to do that. Well, here's the thing though, because I'm probably not going to show this to you right now, because obviously though for the fact that I'm still basically comfortable with regular mode as it stands, because you know, we pretty much already experienced this, you know. Anyways, let's get into Ghostly Gardens Gravity Scramble. So this place is going to be filled to the brim with a lot of gravity switches here and there, so that way we can able to actually do just that. But of course, as we expected, there's also a secret mission which requires us able to actually just to get not only one, but quite a lot of those question mark coins. So we can able to do that right now. So anywho though, I should also point things out too, is that I unfortunately go back on playing through Mario Kart Tour again, so no surprise there. And you know what's really annoys me about this point today, is that I recently manage able to got myself a next new Mii Racing suit recently. That's what it appears to be, I would say Nabbit Mii Racing suit, and the reason why is because at one point during the events around a week ago, I was expecting to get myself some more rupees as soon as I can able to actually try to unlock the next Mii Racing suit, which I already got the Nabbit Mii Racing suit along with the Bodo Mii Racing suit, and no matter what though, I was expected to able to try to get either first or second place in during the events been the last week's you know, ranked cup system with all that New Year's tour thing, and no matter what though, I ended up in third instead, and as a result, to make matters worse though, to me though, I was off by 1 rupee left until I able to actually get myself the actual the Nabbit Mii Racing suit, and because of that, I have no choice but to able to go for a risk versus well, let's just say for instance though, it's about the fact I have no choice but to unfortunately go back on to multiplayer, unfortunately. And to make matters even worse though, I got thrashed, and no matter what though, I got my points get decreased with all that levering up system, and I'm just like, you know what, I'm I'm done with you. I'm just simply done with you, multiplayer Mario Kart Tour, because you are nothing to me. And because of that, though, I already completed all these challenges or achievements in multiplayer, so I don't care. Especially because, you know, that game just, well, sucks to me. Which, even then, I much rather prefer playing Mario Kart World over this, because, well, usually Mario Kart World over Tour, because at least with Mario Kart World, despite they still have some, controversial opinions out there, but at the very least I can able to control things rather than just utilizing the touchscreen a lot. So no matter what though, yeah, I just have no idea when does the actual service for Mario Kart Tour decides to end. So, well, I can't really know about that, do I? Which is especially noticeable because even then we're still on the actual you know what I'm saying, with the forms of the continuous reruns every once in a while, just in case about the fact if you really want to get some plenty of awards and stuff like that. Although, ironically enough though, I've only just got about 3 Mii racing suits left, or technically 2 actually, because there's absolutely no way in heck I'm not gonna go after the gold Mii racing suits, because it is still impossible to get, because, you know, it does require a tier system, so yeah, I'm not gonna go for that personally, because I might give that a pass. So, but fortunately enough though is about the fact that I'm almost trying to complete the entire playable character roster in some scenarios for Mario Kart Tour, despite, like I said before, there's absolutely no way I'm not getting a gold Mii racing suit after all, so, because, you know, it's impossible. But anyway, end of story from now on, because now we can able to get into this part right here, so. And as a matter of fact though, is that we're actually getting very close to the halfway point in terms of Mario's playthrough of this game specifically. And no matter what though, it gets a little bit more interesting once we dive into the second playthrough of this particular version of the game. So, anyway, so let's go and try to get ourselves the, you know, I was expecting to try to get myself my live stream, but we already got that ever since in the previous mission, so I figure, well, technically speaking, though, in the second mission to be exact, so, because obviously, though, we've already done the secret mission already, which appears to be the golden jump. So, and to put it simply, though, that's what the question mark coin object decides to come into play, because if you do manage to keep on collecting the question mark coin, that way it should able to reveal not only some more star bits, but as well as that, well, the rainbow stars. So just in case you do need to acquire that power-up in order to able to deal with not only some, well, boulder rocks to able to get some more star bits, but in addition to that, try to take down the golden chomp. Simple as that, really. So, well, so far so good in terms of the forms of the bedroom dome so far. And conveniently enough though is about the fact that we also did pretty well so far too, in terms of the forms of the kitchen dome as well. Although it wasn't until later on though that we might have to come across into the most difficult comet mission sometimes, in later on that is. So anyways, let's get into the yet another Daredevil challenge right there, so we can able to take on, well, Major Barrows, but only with 1 unit of health, so. Anyway, enough about that. The next thing I want to point out too is that in addition about the fact that Nintendo is going to indeed try to celebrate the 30th anniversary of Pokemon, which it already became fruition, but on top of that, also during around that time, Persona is also celebrating its 30th anniversary as well in the forms of it this year in 2026. And as a matter of fact though, it's about the fact that I would classify for saying is that until tomorrow, we might able to actually guarantee to see the first update coming up until tomorrow on the 8th of January. So I'm very curious to know what that's going to be about exactly. So I'm sure enough that we'll definitely hear more about that until then, along with the forms of course, the 30th anniversary of the Pokemon franchise until likely next month or so. Because obviously though, that was potentially going to be likely for its Japanese release or something like that. So, but anyway, so let's go ahead and try to like deal with the last hit on him for Major Barrows, and sure enough we can able to, well, do a last spin attack on him, and that's not going to be it for Major Barrows just yet, because we will meet him again on the second playthrough. So, and there we go, not too shabby right there. Although mind you, whenever I first got to this point right there, I have no choice but able to just take a life away, and just trying to demonstrate what really happens if we do manage to able to have a rematch against with him. But like I said before, you can now thankfully skip these cutscenes every time when you die in a boss fight. So pretty cool and nifty way to able to make things a lot faster this time around, because again, unlike the Wii version and the 3D All-Stars compilation version, there's no way to skip them, because, you know, it's very similar to Kingdom Hearts 1 on the PlayStation 2, including the Final Mix Japanese version, original version I should say, on the PlayStation 2 itself as well. But then again though, thankfully on the PlayStation 3 and the PS4 version, and the later versions as well, thankfully allows you to able to skip certain cutscenes every time you get frustrated with the boss fights, specifically, and some Riku, for instance, in Hollow Bastion levels, so... But anyway, now we've actually done with the Forms of Ghostly Garden for now on, and now we can able to hop into Freeze Flame Galaxy. So as a result, yeah, we need to able to try to get utilized with the forms of skating around all over the place, so, while chasing the actual penguins, like so. Although not only we have to do it once, by the way, but we have to do it twice, because apparently there's going to be a secret mission in this galaxy as well. So exponentially, I'm also focusing on the secret mission first, as we expected. But not only that, though, we can able to come across into, well, the new power-up, or to be more specifically, the actual power-up we might know by now. Alright, so we're just gonna have to just do this, just in case we do need to utilize the Ice Flower to make our way to certain parts of the entire stage. So, oh, and something's worth noting, in order to able to actually jump out of the water like I just did right there, or should I say the freezing water, you always have to make sure you need to press the Y button somehow, not the B button, so... Yeah, it seems kind of odd, admittedly though, but... dang it, I got frozen by that little, you know, ice bombs or something. But oh well, no big deal, because aside from all that stuff though, I can able to actually try to be more confident enough to able to try to do some triple jumps and what have you, and get a 1-up in the process. Although then again though, it's a shame about the fact that the lives does not save at all, so it's always resets every time. So here we go, we got ourselves the Fire Mario, which obviously though, just like through the All-Stars version, obviously though, just use the Y button or shake the Joy-Con to, you know, throw fireballs, and that's all you have to do for this point. So, but for me personally though, I always attempt to use the Y button a lot more, because, you know, using motion controls, well, it works for the most part, but other times though, it can be felt a bit overly reliant on it sometimes, but either way. Alright, let's just go ahead and try to do a triple jump right there to skip this part right here, because I always attempt to love to do alternate paths and taking shortcuts especially, so now, about with the Fonstad Rosalina storybook, as you might be able to expect, just like last time, we'll save that for last, because obviously though, we can able to experience the entire story again. But on top of that, there's going to be an additional chapter, which is only existent on this particular version of the game on 2025 on, you know, Super Mario Galaxy on Switch, so... Oh jeez, that was close. Because I'm almost going to get myself pushed off for these little, I would say flumps for some particular parts, or maybe I may be wrong, because I know for a fact that it's been a very long while since I actually known about these particular objects like these. They're trying to shove you off, so... Conquering the Summons, the secret mission in Freeze Flame Galaxy, so how about that? And also, what I still found this particular stage very fascinating is that certain missions were able to take place in the icicle kind of environment, and then some other missions takes place in a hot, fiery, magma kind of environment. So, likely a combination of fire and ice, basically, so... Which this could be also applied for one of those galaxies in Super Mario Galaxy 2, but then again, that particular discussion can wait, so... Anyway, so we have to chase after that penguin again, so just in case we do need to acquire this in order to able to progress, so... Although it wasn't until the later missions, on the other hand, that we can able to actually try to collect not only star chips to activate the launch star, and on top of that we can able to actually just try to figure out, well, you'll soon to find out, so... So anyway though, let's just go and get back into this whole normal mission routine, Now, as far as the actual comment itself is concerned, it might not trigger until once our star counter is actually on 52, so... Because as to be expected though, if it's on an even number, this means it's going to be appeared, whilst if it's on the odd number, then obviously though it will not trigger until later on, that is, so... Anyway, so let's go through here again, so just in case we can able to get ourselves the live stream again, because I couldn't resist myself. I should also mention about this too, in regards to the forms of the assist mode, is that, well, obviously though, for the fact that, well, usually relatively speaking though, if you accidentally fall off in the actual level, well, obviously though, that particular mysterious bubble decides able to just take you back to where you came from, and for whatever reason though, on the Comet Observatory, in this particular version of the game right here, for whatever reason, it functions kind of the same way, but it's hard for me to explain about this particular subject though, because we've never actually come across into that particular point yet, but yeah, I will be able to actually mention more about that during later on, that is, so for the most part though, it's how to keep on just doing some backflips and long jumps especially, so just in case it'll make things really quicker, and we can able to just, oh jeez, that was very unexpected how the fact that the power-up usually ends like so. And do that, just in case we can able to dodge this little shockwave attack. So of course, as we expected, 3 hits on this guy, and once you get the hang of it though, it might not be too bad, despite if you accidentally touch him, you'll be frozen, so you have to be very cautious with that. But yeah, apart from those side things though, there's nothing else I can really talk about, aside from the fact that, well, honestly though folks, it's just a way of how the fact that, well, sometimes, you know, early portions of the year sometimes just feels a bit kind of slow sometimes, in regards to the forms of what's to happen. Likely, for instance though, we still haven't got a clue of new game updates or anything else to be more specifically from now on. Well, aside from the fact that I've already mentioned about the fact that not only there's going to be 1, but 2 gaming franchise anniversaries is coming, along with the forms of possibly Crash Bandicoot as well, in regards to the forms of its 30th anniversary celebrations, so... But either way, that'll be a discussion for a later time, and on top of that, I might able to actually, you know, like I said before since in the last video, I might possibly go back on playing through Donkey Kong Bonanza on my spare own time, so just in case I can able to actually guarantee to get more statues from the actual Emerald Rush DLC, so despite it's pretty much filler, well, regardless of such though, something tells me I might able to actually go into Freezer layer in the Volkswagen Bonanza DLC, so because my guess was about the fact that, like I said before, those statues are going to be based off from Tropical Freeze with all that. Well, you get the idea for this point, so anyway, so let's go and grab some more star bits from this underneath portion of this particular icy donut planetoid, so we can able to just, well, grab some star bits like so. All the while we can able to actually try to grab some star chips and what have you to create a launch star in the process, so... But anyway, speaking of the forms of franchises though, I did recently found out something that I found was very fascinating, is that, well, according to the forms of one of those specific sites, or to be more accurate though, that ever wondered if what are currently the highest grossing media franchise worldwide, you might be asking. Well, according to the forms of the actual, the Ultimate Pop Culture Wiki, that's what it appears to be with the forms of a, well, a new infographic published by the Ultimate Pop Culture Wiki shows us just that, and as a result, they showed us about the forms of what's the most highest grossing media franchise in history. Like, they only bring up 12 of these franchises to be more specifically. Like, for instance though, 12th place goes to Dragon Ball, and 11th place goes to Wizarding World, or Harry Potter to be exact. And on top of that, there's also 10th place goes to Jump Comics, or in some cases, Shonen Jump. And then meanwhile, in 9th place, we've got Marvel, and 8th place goes to Disney Princess, and 7th place goes to, oh jeez, it's hard to pronounce this one, Anpanman, I think is what it says anyway. And then 6th place goes to Mario, which, speaking of Mario, we are currently playing for a Mario game right now. And no matter what though, I'll get into the more further details about the forms of the actual financial numbers about the forms that particular franchises do manage to own themselves. So anyway, 5th place goes to Star Wars, and 4th place goes to Mickey Mouse, and 3rd place goes to Winnie the Pooh, and then 2nd place goes to Hello Kitty, and finally number 1 is Pokemon. So yeah, no surprise there, especially considering ever since, you know, almost 30 years ago that Pokemon is actually very popular back in the day, which is why, for the fact that they somehow managed to bring up the 30th anniversary of the Pokemon franchise. So, yeah, I guess that makes it a little bit more obvious than ever. So, now, as far as I'm aware, in terms of the forms of the dollars, as far as I'm aware, when it comes to these numbers, for Pokemon though, it did somehow manage able to go into $288 billion, and then for Hello Kitty, it was actually $88.5 billion, and then next up we have is Winnie the Pooh, that they did somehow receive for about $76.7 billion, and then meanwhile for Mickey Mouse, he somehow got $74 billion, and then Star Wars has got $73.7 billion. Meanwhile for Mario, he did somehow got $57.3 billion, and then next up we have is Pan Man, which actually receives $56.5 billion, and then Disney Princesses obviously got $46.3 billion, and then Marvel got $45.1 billion, and Jump Comics somehow received $40 billion, and Wizarding World, or Harry Potter to be exact, $37.7 billion, and lastly for Dragon Ball, it did somehow receive $31.6 billion. So yeah, quite a lot of money in terms of any other franchises, as far as you can definitely tell, which is especially noticeable considering about the fact that for the most part, I always attempt to really enjoy most franchises, like for instance though, Marvel and Dragon Ball especially, Disney Princesses every once in a while, like Leo for instance though, with the original animated Disney classics, not the stupid live-action adaptations to me though, because you know, it really overstayed its welcome at this point. So, and it's even bad enough though, is about the fact that we just literally got about 6 more months left until Moana Remake is gonna be approaching up to this point. So, oh boy, I'm not looking forward to that personally, because it just feels likely it's hard for me to explain. But anyway, let's get into the next mission, Hot and Cold Collide. So, and what I found was very interesting is that you can actually able to perform a shortcut like so. And that way you don't have to worry about just trying to go into likely its right side up and then upside down simultaneously right there. I mean, then again though, I always love doing tricks like this, especially noticeable because again, we've already experienced the normal ways before, not only on the Wii version, but as well as the 3D All-Stars version, so... Oh yeah, I should also mention about this too, is that this game right here, along with Galaxy 2, both of those games on 2025 version also has Amiibo support, which even then, as far as you can definitely tell, they only support almost every single Amiibos to see how that usually actually functions. But I do notice for certain, for one thing, that this game specifically, along with Galaxy 2, only it's compatible with 2 specific Amiibos. Like, it doesn't really matter which specific variations there are, and both of which are Mario and Rosalina. And as far as I can definitely tell, despite the fact that the actual official Amiibo releases for Super Mario Galaxy plus Super Mario Galaxy 2 hasn't been turned up yet until specifically the 2nd of April in this year specifically, which is a bit of an odd choice when it comes to likely trying to get the Amiibos later on instead of the exactly same day as in a combo pack releases. So very odd strategy right there, I must admit though right away. But regardless of such though, is about the fact that while looking at the actual Amiibos based off from not only Super Mario Galaxy but as well as Super Mario Galaxy 2 as well, architecture-wise, is actually very cool looking. And as far as the price tag is concerned, my god, they're going overboard in regards to the forms of the price tags these days, which is especially noticeable that, you know, economy is about to get so messed up. So, But, you know, you get the whole entire scenario with the forms of how, you know, baffled about the forms of how price tags can be sometimes nowadays. Which, again, back in the day, it was actually quite cheap to get. Whilst nowadays, though, it's gonna get pretty, really, you know, over-exaggerated with this particular, you know, price tag has been increasing, so... And kind of think about it, this particular obstacle looks exactly similar as we did for that Cosmic Mario race earlier, so... Thought it's worth bringing up, except the fact that we have to now utilize the Ice Mario transformation in order able to actually go across through the entire lava chasm, so yeah, that's what I was going to be thinking about anyway. Alright, so let's move on to Dusty Dome Galaxy, and I figure I might as well do one more mission for today. Just because, I don't know about you, but I'm almost run out of breath about the forms of my conversations at this point today. I mean, don't get me wrong though, I was originally able to mention about something else for this point, but turns out though, that can wait until tomorrow for some time. And here we go into Soaring on the Desert Winds. So, because obviously the main emphasis about this mission is that it actually requires us to be able to utilize the Tornado Winds. So, in order able to go from one place to the other. Oh yeah, I should also mention about this too, is that this game, when you're trying to pause the game, along with Galaxy 2 especially, the game now actually has a help option, which does tell you the controls, and that's about it basically. Oh, and there's also some settings now too, that you can able to try and change the camera controls, and in addition to that though, just any other options you can able to configure out. I mean, mind you though, I haven't really tested out for myself, you see, because, you know, at this point in time, it's about the fact I pretty much know exactly what I'm doing, because, you know, we've already experienced this game before, but this time around though, in a much more of a different version, although, functionally wise, it feels remarkably identical to, you know, the 3D All-Stars, which I've already on about that, so let's not get ahead of ourselves at this point right now. So, anyway. Alright, so we need to be very careful not to, you know, get screwed over by that flump again, and in addition to that, we also need to be very careful about this particular sinking sand, or quicksand I should say, because otherwise... Oh, wait a second. No! No! Ah, dang it! Ah, I spoke too soon on that part, but regardless of such though, this means I have to go all the way back to the beginning portion of this 2D section, so... But still, the loading times really bothers me in this version this time around, because even now, I just really wish if it just goes like extremely fast, although it doesn't really help about the fact that the switch to enhanced version does not fix any of those loading times at first glance either, which I know for a fact that because despite the fact that both of these games combined are usually not only game card physical release, but on top of that, digital purchase distribution, which means about the fact that the loading times could potentially load a bit quicker, don't it? Although, usually relatively speaking though, because unlike the Wii U eShop downloadable version between both Galaxy 1 and Galaxy 2, at the very least the loading times are non-existent, because, you know, if you do manage to download both of those games on the Wii U, that the loading times are non-existent, because, you know, it just loads very instantly. Because, yeah, it's very missed opportunity when it comes to loading times in this particular version of the game right there. Because, again, in the 3D All-Stars version, it loads significantly quicker, which even then, likely, for instance, though, every time you lose a life, and every time you complete the mission, and try to go all the way back to the Comet Observatory here and there, or in some cases, though, certain domes for that matter, but... Either way, you pretty much get the idea about the fact that some people complain about loading times in this particular version this time around. But either way, we can able to at the very least try to get some more star bits at one point, so just in case we can able to actually try to get onto the next Hungry Luma level, but that's not going to be until specifically until tomorrow, that is, so... And to go alongside with that though, I do believe it is definitely possible we can able to actually try to go after the third and the final green star in this game specifically. But then again though, it wasn't until specifically until tomorrow, that is, so... Oh yeah, I should also mention about this too, there's technically one more thing I want to discuss, is that, kind of think about it though, until in October in this year, speaking of Mario Party Star Rush, is that I believe that particular game is going to be 10 years old later on, which, Gee, time flies. Alongside with that, there's also going to be the 10th anniversary of The Legend of Zelda Twilight Princess HD for the Wii U, and on top of that, Star Fox Zero for the Wii U, and along with the forms of Mario and Sonic at the Rio 2016 Olympic Games, both on the 3DS and for the Wii U. And in addition to that though, with, I would say, although correct me if I'm wrong, Sonic Boom Fire and Ice for the 3DS, and in addition to that though, there's also going to be the 10th anniversary of, well, Zootropolis as the film itself, or Zootopia if you lived in North America, and in addition to that, there's also going to be the 10th anniversary of Finding Dory, and in addition to that though, same applies with Kung Fu Panda 3, and in addition to that though, there's also going to be in some cases, unhappy 10th anniversary of Ice Age 5 Collusion Course, which, oh boy, I don't feel like trying to talk about that right now until specifically in the summer season, which, believe me, what I'm saying is about the fact it is so hard for me to go back onto, you know, Ice Age 5 nowadays, because that film is really dull, and I did not enjoy it anymore. But that's just me. And suffice to say for this point, guys, is that we should probably end things off this point right here. So join me next time for more of Let's Play of Super Mario Galaxy plus Super Mario Galaxy 2 Combo Pack, while we're still playing through Super Mario Galaxy for Nintendo Switch 2025 edition. Is that obviously though we're about to be collecting some more Power Stars in the Bedroom Dome, and that'll be about it. So I'll see you guys until tomorrow. Later, fellas.